Before sunrise on the Giza Plateau, an ordinary conscript wakes with aching joints and a dry mouth. His hands are still raw from yesterday's ropes. The air inside the workers' barracks smells like sweat, beer, and dust that never settles. Around him, 200 men stir in the darkness. Some cough. The limestone powder gets into your lungs and stays there. Others groan as they shift on reed mats that offer almost no cushioning from the packed earth floor. You might think these men would refuse to return to the work site. You might think they would flee under cover of night or collapse in protest at the entrance ramps. But when the foreman's voice cuts through the pre-dawn stillness, every single one of them rises. They shuffle outside. They form ragged lines in the cold desert air. They wait for their assignment on Khufu's pyramid, the largest construction project the world has ever seen. Why? Why do men with cracked skin and swollen joints line up to repeat what nearly broke them yesterday? What force drives them back toward blocks of stone that weigh as much as 30 men? Toward ramps that climb higher than any structure in the known world? The answer is not what you would expect. You arrived 3 days ago, pulled from your village by a conscription crew during the flood season. The Nile has swallowed your fields, so the state puts you to work. No chains, no whips, just a bureaucrat with a papyrus scroll calling your name and assigning you to crew 14 under a foreman named Seneb. That is how it works here. You are not a slave, you are a seasonal laborer, and the alternative was sitting idle or starving. Now you stand at the edge of the Giza site. The floodplain stretches behind you, and the desert opens ahead like a furnace door. The noise reaches you before the details do. Thousands of voices call out measurements, coordinates, warnings. You hear the rhythmic crack of copper chisels against limestone. You hear the groan of wooden sledges dragged over sand. Somewhere in that sprawling grid of work zones, Pharaoh Khufu's pyramid rises, already taller than anything you have seen in your life. You will not meet Khufu. You will never speak to him. His architect, Hemiunu, is a name supervisors mention with lowered voices and careful respect. What you see is not chaos. It is a machine made of human beings. Scribes track every block. Foremen manage every crew. Work camps spread across the plateau in organized rows. There are ration stations, tool depots, and medical tents for the injured. Someone planned this down to the last detail, and now you are one small part of it. But organized does not mean easy. This system runs on bodies, and yours is already sore from sleeping on hard ground. The sun has not fully risen yet, and you are already learning what the next months will feel like. The first blocks arrive as the sun climbs. They are hewn from the nearby Mokatam quarries, rough cut and heavy enough to crush bone. Teams gather along the prepared sledge paths, and there is no ceremony and no slow beginning. The ropes are already waiting in coils, thick as a man's wrist, woven from papyrus and palm fiber. You take your place in line, grip the rope, and feel the fibers dig into your palms. The overseer calls out. Everyone leans. The weight does not budge. They call again. 50 men pull together this time, and the sledge finally groans forward across wooden rollers slicked with water and oil. One step, then another. The rhythm begins. Pull, step, reset. Pull, step, reset. The block weighs several tons. It moves like a creature that refuses to cooperate. Your hands start to burn within minutes. The man beside you spits on his palms and grips tighter. No one speaks. There is nothing to say that the rope does not already tell you. The ramp rises ahead, a long scar of packed earth and rubble climbing the pyramid's face. The angle is shallow enough to drag stone up, but steep enough to punish your legs. By the time your team reaches the base, your breathing is hard and your shoulders are locked tight. You do not stop. No one stops. The line behind you is already hauling the next block. If you slow, they slow. If you stop, the whole system clogs. Overseers watch from higher ground, staffs in hand, eyes sharp. Not to beat you, usually, but to keep the flow moving. Timing here is survival for everyone. Halfway up the ramp, someone trips. His foot catches a loose stone and he stumbles forward. The rope jerks. The man behind him yells a warning just before the sledge shifts sideways. It does not tip, but the block slides an inch, and for one terrible second, 50 men hold their breath. If it goes off the edge, it will roll, and anyone in its path will be pulp. The crew on the far side leans hard, correcting the weight. The sledge settles. The man who tripped scrambles back to his feet. No one yells at him. Everyone has tripped. Everyone will again. You reach the top of the ramp, and the block is positioned on the growing layer of casing stones. Skilled masons step in now. These are craftsmen who spend their days fitting stone to stone with copper chisels and wooden mallets, working seams so tight a blade will not fit between them. You do not touch that part. You are muscle, not precision. You are sent back down the ramp for the next load. There is always a next load. By midday, the plateau is choked with movement. Thousands of workers spread across the site. Some haul, some cut. Some mix mortar from gypsum and sand. Dust rises in thick clouds. The noise is constant. Hammers strike chisels. Sledges scrape over packed earth. Foremen shout directions. Ropes creak as they pull taut. The Tura stones arrive too, brought across the Nile on barges and dragged from the riverbank. Those blocks are finer, destined for the outer casing that will one day gleam white in the sun. They are heavier. They require bigger teams. You watch one crew of 70 men drag a single casing block up a parallel ramp, bodies locked in unison, faces blank with effort. You lose track of how many blocks you have moved. 5, maybe 6. Each one feels the same. Crushing weight, burning hands, aching legs. But when you glance back at the pyramid, it does not look any different than it did at dawn. The structure is so massive that 100 blocks added in a day barely registers. You can see the layers rising slowly, but the top still seems impossibly far away. The capstone will be placed years from now. Most of the men here will not live to see it finished. That knowledge sits in your chest like a stone of its own. Accidents do not announce themselves. A rope snaps on the western ramp, old fibers finally giving out under tension. The sledge lurches backward. 2 men cannot get clear in time. One is knocked flat, ribs cracking under the edge of the block. The other catches the corner on his leg and goes down screaming. Work stops only long enough to drag them aside. Priests come to assess the injured. One man will heal. The other will not walk again. His team is reassigned before the sun moves another hand's width. The sledge is re-rigged with fresh rope. The hauling continues. By afternoon, your hands are no longer hands. They are raw meat wrapped around wood and fiber. Blisters have formed, burst, and formed again. Salt from your sweat burns the open skin. You see men wrapping their palms in strips of linen torn from their kilts, trying to cushion the friction. It helps for a while. Then the linen soaks through, and it is worse. You keep pulling anyway. Everyone does. The work does not soften because you are hurt. The stone does not care. And still, the pyramid rises. Slow, relentless, inhuman in its scale. Most people stop at the surface of history, but you're still here. So if you want the parts they don't teach, the truths buried beneath time, consider subscribing and becoming part of those who chose to see it all. Now, let's continue. The sun reaches its peak, and the desert becomes something worse than you imagined. The heat does not just press down. It invades. Every breath burns. The limestone under your feet radiates waves that blur the air. Your body screams for rest. That is when the real shift happens. You finally understand. The stones are not what is killing you. Time is. Temperature is. The water ration you received at dawn is gone. You knew it would be. You drank it too fast, driven by desperation, unable to resist. Now your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth. Your lips crack. The next distribution will not come until the afternoon work bell, hours away. You watch a supervisor pass with a full water skin slung across his shoulder. He drinks casually and does not even look at you. The hierarchy becomes crystal clear in moments like this. Specialists, the rope handlers, the angle measurers, the men who understand the ramp mechanics, get water when they need it. They get shade breaks. They survive. The rest of you are replaceable. Your survival is not part of the plan. The bread from this morning sits heavy in your stomach, but it is not enough. It was never enough. A small flat loaf, some onions, maybe a handful of dates if the delivery was generous. That is supposed to fuel 12 hours of hauling limestone. Your muscles are eating themselves. You can feel it. The weakness spreads from your core outward. Your arms shake under weight that felt manageable just yesterday. Men around you stumble. Some catch themselves. Others do not. The mistakes start small. A foot placed wrong. A grip that slips. A rope held too loose. Under the morning's cooler air, you could recover from these errors. Now, in the midday furnace, there is no margin left. You see a man lose his footing on the ramp's incline. The stone he is guiding shifts. He tries to correct, but his exhausted body cannot react fast enough. The block slides sideways. 3 men scramble. 1 is not quick enough. The sound of impact is dull, final. Overseers rush in. The line halts for moments, not minutes. The injured man is dragged aside. The stone is repositioned. Work resumes. You are still moving, still hauling, before his cries fade into the background noise. Something tightens in your chest. The job does not stop for individuals. It cannot. Thousands of stones must move today. If your crew falls behind, the entire sequence breaks. The ramps need constant feeding. The upper teams depend on the lower teams. The deadline is not negotiable. Khufu's tomb must rise on schedule. So the rhythm continues, relentless, mechanical. You become part of that machine, even as your body breaks down inside it. The supervisors grow harsher. Their voices sharpen. A man who paused to catch his breath is struck across the shoulders with a wooden rod. Not cruelly, just enough to restart his motion. The foreman is not angry. He is maintaining flow. You understand now why the skilled workers are protected. They are the engineers of this flow. They read the angles, time the pulls, adjust the leverage points. Lose them, and the whole system collapses. Lose you, and there are 50 men in the labor pool who can take your rope tomorrow. The hierarchy is not about cruelty. It is about mathematics. The pyramid demands precision at the top and endurance at the bottom. You are at the bottom. In this heat, with your water gone and your strength failing, you finally see the truth. You are not building a monument. You are feeding it, stone by stone, hour by hour, body by body. The question is not whether you will finish the day. It is whether you will finish it whole. The sun sits at its highest point now, the worst possible time to be moving stone. Your arms stopped aching hours ago. That is not a good sign. You cannot feel them the way you should. The rope has worn through the outer layer of your palms. Every pull opens the wounds wider. The foreman shouts something you do not fully hear. The words blur together with the sound of wood scraping stone and men gasping for air that feels too hot to breathe. Then the rope snaps. It happens faster than thought. The massive limestone block, 2.5 tons of dead weight, lurches backward on the wooden sledge. Men scatter. One does not move fast enough. You hear the sound before you process what it means. A wet crack. Bone giving way under pressure no human body was designed to withstand. He does not scream. He just stops. The block settles. Someone is shouting for water. Someone else is pulling the man free, but his leg bends in a direction legs do not bend. His face has gone gray. No one stops working for long. The overseers do not allow it. The block must keep moving. Another crew is already stepping in. Fresh ropes are deployed. The sledge is repositioned. You are still holding your section of the broken line, fingers locked around it like they have forgotten how to open. A hand grabs your shoulder. You are shoved back into position. The rhythm resumes. Pull, step, pull, step. You do not look at the man being carried away. You have learned not to look. The heat is doing something to your vision now. The edges of the world pulse and darken. You have seen men collapse mid-pull, just drop like their strings were cut. Some get back up, some do not. You force yourself to drink from the skin at your waist, even though the water tastes like warm leather and grit. Staying conscious is not optional. If you go down, you become the problem everyone else has to solve, and they will not be gentle about it. A man 2 rows ahead stumbles off the ramp's edge. It is not a long fall, maybe the height of 2 men, but he lands wrong. His ankle folds beneath him. He tries to stand, cannot, and crawls to the side. A replacement is already moving into his spot before he is fully clear. The rhythm does not break. The block does not stop. You are not individuals here. You are parts of a living machine. Broken parts get swapped out while the machine keeps running. Your chest feels tight. Each breath seems thinner than the last. The man beside you is bleeding where the rope sawed through the skin between his thumb and forefinger. He has not slowed down. No one slows down. Not when the overseers are watching. Not when the alternative is being marked as unable. You have heard what happens to men who cannot keep pace. They are sent to the quarries. Some say that is worse. You believe them. The block reaches the top of the ramp. For a moment, just one, you think you can rest. But the overseer is already calling out the next load. Another block is being dragged into position at the base. The cycle begins again and again. The pyramid does not care how much you have given. It only cares what you have left. Night falls across Giza, and there is no ceremony to mark what has been accomplished. The workers who dragged stones today return to temporary villages that sprawl beyond the construction site. Mud brick quarters are packed with men whose bodies tell the story of the pyramid better than any inscription. Hands are cracked and bleeding. Shoulders carry bruises shaped like rope burns. Knees swell from hours spent crouching and pushing. Some men limp. Others move in careful, measured steps, protecting injuries they cannot afford to report. The evening meal arrives in communal portions. Bread, onions, beer thick enough to carry calories rather than intoxication. Men eat in silence, or speak in low voices, too tired for anything beyond the immediate. There are no songs of triumph, no declarations about building something eternal, just the quiet work of staying functional enough to wake again before dawn and repeat the process. And yet, the achievement is real. Somewhere tonight, stone quarried from Tura sits waiting to be dressed and fitted. Granite from Aswan, hauled over 800 kilometers through desert heat and river current, rests in staging areas, ready to become the interior chambers of a structure meant to defy time itself. The pyramid is rising, course by course, because the Egyptian state organized this effort with ruthless precision. It tracked labor rotations, it coordinated supply routes, it engineered ramps, it distributed rations, it sustained the work across decades. This is what state power looked like 4,500 years ago. Not in declarations or monuments to victory, but in the capacity to pull resources from across a civilization and focus them on a single generational task. The workers in those villages tonight are part of that machinery. They did not choose this role. Many resent it. But their labor is writing a chapter of human history that will outlast every pharaoh, every dynasty, every empire that follows. We sit now in climate-controlled rooms, ordering conveniences from devices that fit in our pockets, never lifting anything heavier than a grocery bag. The distance between our comfort and their suffering is almost incomprehensible. Every finished course of Khufu's pyramid carries the weight of broken bodies, lost years, and exhaustion so deep it became normal. They built something permanent. We inherited the world that made it possible to forget what that cost.